Jingle bells! The holidays are coming. They're approaching really soon. And what better way to celebrate than to gather with friends and family over delicious desserts like chocolate chip cookies? But holidays also means finding the best gifts for those that you love. Have we ever thought about combining the two? I think it's about time that we bring creativity into the kitchen. My name is Taylor, and today I will be showing you how to make chocolate chip cookies in holiday jars for friends and families during the holidays. For the first part of this recipe on how to make chocolate chip cookies, we're going to use the back of the Nestle Toll House semi-sweet chocolate chip morsel recipe. It can be found directly in the back at the very top. To begin this recipe, you're going to need a few things. To begin, baking soda, imperial margarine butter, 2 sticks, vanilla extract, granulated sugar, all-purpose flour, 2 bowls, 1 small bowl, 1 medium-sized bowl. You're also going to need a bag of chocolate chips, measuring cup, 2 cups, large tablespoon, a 1-ounce scoop ice cream scooper, eggs of your choice. I chose cage-free, light brown sugar, Pam, measuring cups, and let's not forget the 9x13 pan. Because we will be following the recipe on the back of the Nestle Toll House chocolate chips, I'll be laying it right in front of me. That way, everyone can follow along. The first thing you want to do when baking chocolate chips is preheat the oven to 375. After you preheat the oven, you're going to want to make sure that all your hair is pulled back. I have a struggle with having hair fall out while I'm cooking, and it's just a courtesy thing. People don't want to eat cookies that have hair in it, so please pull your hair back before you begin. The first thing you're going to do with this recipe is take all your dry ingredients and put it into the small bowl. You don't want to mix the wet and dry ingredients. The dry ingredients include the 2 1/4 cup of flour, the 1 teaspoon of baking soda, and the 1 teaspoon of salt. Sometimes, if you're working with friends and family, you need a lot more room than what you'd get in the kitchen. So I moved this process to the table. This is where most of the time, me and my family get together to bake cookies. The first thing you're going to do is take all your dry ingredients, like I said previously, and combine them after you measure them in the small bowl. Here I have the small bowl, and I previously measured 2 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour. Just dump that into the bowl and put it aside. Next, you're going to take the teaspoon of salt and the teaspoon of baking powder and combine it with the flour in the small bowl. Take the large spoon, mix the ingredients together. Once you're finished with the dry ingredients, just place it to the side, like this. Move containers. Now you're going to take the medium-sized bowl and combine all your wet ingredients. When measuring the sugar, you're going to need a 1/4 measuring cup. When you scoop the sugar, make sure you fill the cup up all the way and shake off the residue. Since it's 3/4 of a cup, you're going to need 3 scoops using the 1/4 measuring cup. You're going to repeat this process with the brown sugar as well. Make sure you crack the eggs in a separate container to avoid getting shells in the batter. This way, if shells fall in the container, you can take them out before adding it to the batter. Now you will add 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Once you've added all your wet ingredients, the last thing you'll probably need is the butter. The recipe calls for softened butter. That's why I left the butter out. But if it's still a little hard, take this measuring cup like I had previously told you about in the materials. Place the 2 sticks in here and set it in the microwave for 20 seconds. It should soften your butter enough to mix in with the wet ingredients. Watch as I unfold the butter. I make sure not to touch it with my bare hands. Here, in order to get the butter out of the wrapper, I squeeze the spine with my fingers. Now with the same spoon that you used to mix the dry ingredients, take it and mix the wet ingredients. You can use a mixer for this part. I prefer to do it by hand, just because I can see if there's little bits, I can get it with the spoon that are not mixing in well. Especially with the brown sugar likes to clump up a lot, so it's just important to have a spoon in handy in case there are any clumps left. You want to make sure everything's thoroughly mixed, because it won't be staying like this. See how I still have clumps? Don't want that. That's more smooth, less clumps. That's how you want it. Now, once you're done mixing the wet ingredients, you're going to take your dry ingredients and add it to the wet. Gradually, though. If you add too much, when you go to mix, the flour is going to go everywhere, and it's going to make a big mess, and you won't have all the flour that you need for the recipe. So take your dry ingredients and gently just dab the side of the container to where a little bit falls in. Let me show you how much I put in. Just that amount. I wouldn't use a mixer for this part. I would definitely use a spoon, just because if you use a mixer, it can get all clumped up once the dough actually starts forming onto the mixer. And on the spoon, you have more control of the consistency of it. You definitely want it to be thick. And I find with a mixer, it just makes things a little too thin. If the dough's not thick, it won't be able to mold. You'll have droopy cookies and a big mess. So add more once you mix that one in. Roughly the same amount. And if you ever find that it's too thin, just add some more flour. It should thicken it up. Fun fact, Nestle Toll House did not create the chocolate chip cookie. It was actually a woman of the name Kate from Massachusetts. She was 31 years old, and she actually was famous for her dough drop cookies. But one day she decided to take a Nestle Toll House chocolate bar and cut it up into tiny bits and put it in her batter. She was hoping to make chocolate cookies, but instead, as we know, the chips, they stay formed together and they don't spread throughout the cookie. And so that's how we ended up with the chocolate chip cookie. So it was actually an accident. And once her recipe started becoming more popular with these little chocolate chips in them, Nestle decided to start breaking up their tiny bars into pieces and selling it that way. Eventually, they formed a little teardrop shape now that we know as chocolate chip morsels. And they even came out with other flavors like butterscotch and peanut butter, dark chocolate, white chocolate. It was all around 1958. You can see how it's getting a lot thicker. Just be patient. If your arm gets tired, take a little break. I know my arm gets tired. That's why I like to do it with family, because we can switch out. It actually became pretty much a tradition in my family I think I discovered the chocolate chip recipe Now that our timer has went off for 11 minutes, we will take the cookies out and allow them to cool for 5 to 10 minutes. Do not forget to use a mitt when handling the cookie pan and to turn the oven off.